Every year, thousands of people survive the first minutes of a heart attack and die anyway. Not because the ambulance was too slow, not because doctors didn't try, but because nobody in that room knew what to do with their hands or their tongue. Most people think a heart attack gives you a movie moment, dramatic chest grab, fall to the floor, somebody calls 911 and everything works out. But here's what actually happens in over 70% of cardiac events in people over 60. The attack hits when you're alone, in your kitchen, in your bathroom, on a Tuesday morning while you're making coffee. And the average response time for emergency services? Between 7 and 14 minutes. That's an eternity when your heart is struggling. So the question isn't, will someone call for help? The question is, what do you do with those 7 to 14 minutes before help arrives? I'm going to show you something most cardiologists never mention in the office. A technique so simple it sounds almost ridiculous until you understand the science behind it. It's called the tongue tap method. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly why it works, exactly how to do it, and why nobody ever taught you this before. Stay with me through step 3, because step 3 is the part that changes everything, and it's the one piece almost no one gets right. Let's be honest about something first. If you're over 60, you've probably had that moment, that strange tightness in your chest after climbing stairs, that dizzy spell that came out of nowhere, that arm ache you told yourself was just from sleeping wrong, but something in the back of your mind whispered, what if it wasn't? That whisper is real, and it deserves a real answer. Here's what nobody's talking about. The human body has built-in emergency systems that most of us never learn to activate. Your nervous system, your blood pressure response, your heart rhythm. These things can be influenced by intentional physical action even in the middle of a cardiac event. The tongue tap method works by engaging one of the most powerful reflex pathways in your entire body, a pathway connected directly to the vagus nerve, blood pressure regulation, and electrical activity in the heart itself. We're going to break this down in 3 parts. First, what's actually happening in your body during a cardiac event and why most instincts make it worse. Second, the tongue tap sequence, exactly what to do, in what order. And third, the thing I promised you at the beginning, the counterintuitive piece that makes the whole method actually work under panic conditions. Most people skip it because they think it's too simple. It is not. By the end of this video, you won't just have information, you'll have a protocol, something you can actually do alone in 60 seconds that gives your heart a fighting chance before the paramedics arrive. Most people think a heart attack is a single event. It's not. It's a process, and that process has a window. When blood flow to your heart muscle is blocked, the affected area starts sending distress signals. Your body immediately kicks into panic mode. Cortisol spikes, adrenaline floods your system, your blood pressure swings wildly, and your heart rhythm can become erratic. This isn't just uncomfortable, it's dangerous. Because a heart that's already struggling doesn't need extra chaos, it needs stability. Here's what most people do instinctively. They panic. They stand up too fast. They hyperventilate. They grip their chest and hold their breath. Every single one of those responses makes the situation worse. Hyperventilation constricts your blood vessels. Breath holding spikes pressure. Sudden movement forces your already strained heart to work harder. And panic? Panic dumps so much adrenaline into your bloodstream that it can actually trigger a secondary arrhythmia, a dangerous, irregular heartbeat on top of the original event. It's like trying to fix a car engine by flooring the accelerator while it's overheating. What the heart actually needs in those first critical minutes is a parasympathetic response, calm nervous system signaling, slower, controlled breathing, a reduction in peripheral vascular resistance, and ideally, some form of movement that keeps blood circulating without spiking demand. And that's exactly what the tongue tap method is designed to do. Wait, before I get into the technique, let me ask you something. Have you ever pressed your tongue firmly to the roof of your mouth and felt your whole jaw relax? Just try it right now. Press your tongue flat against the roof of your mouth, not the teeth, the palate, and hold for 3 seconds. Did you feel that? There's a reason that happens, and it's the core of everything I'm about to show you. The tongue is one of the most neurologically rich parts of the human body. There are more nerve endings per square centimeter in your tongue than in most other tissues. And critically, the muscles and pressure points in the roof of your mouth are directly connected to the trigeminal nerve, which interfaces with the vagus nerve, which is the master regulator of your heart rate and nervous system state. This isn't fringe science. Vagal stimulation has been used in emergency cardiology for decades. What's new is understanding how to self-administer a version of it, using nothing but your own body in the middle of a crisis. Here is the full sequence. Step 1. Stop and brace. The moment you suspect something is wrong, chest pressure, jaw pain, left arm discomfort, sudden cold sweat, or overwhelming dread that something is very wrong, do not stand up. Do not walk. Lower yourself to the floor or sit firmly against a wall. Your goal is to reduce the workload on your heart immediately. Sitting down drops your cardiac demand by up to 20% compared to standing. That sounds small. In a cardiac event, it's not small at all.
Step 2. Call for help first. If you have a phone, call 911. Press your medical alert button or shout for someone nearby. Do this before the technique, because the technique can buy you time, but it is not a replacement for emergency care. Get help on the way, then start the protocol. Step 3. Begin controlled cough breathing. Take a slow, deliberate breath in through the nose, 5 counts. Then cough, a sharp, forceful cough from deep in the chest. The cough creates a pressure wave inside your chest cavity that briefly forces blood back toward the heart. This is actually a documented technique, and it can help maintain rhythm and circulation during certain types of cardiac events. Don't cough rapidly. 1 controlled breath in, 1 powerful cough out. Repeat every 5 seconds. Step 4. The tongue tap. Now, while you're doing the breathing, press the flat of your tongue firmly to the roof of your mouth, not the tip, the full flat surface, pressing up toward your soft palate. Hold continuous pressure. This activates a specific pressure reflex that stimulates the vagus nerve pathway. You may feel a slight drop in anxiety almost immediately. That's not a placebo. That's your parasympathetic nervous system beginning to engage. While holding tongue pressure, and this is important, breathe only through your nose. Slow, controlled. In through the nose for 5 counts. Hold 2 counts. Slow release through the nose for 5 counts. Not your mouth, the nose. Nasal breathing at this pace activates nitric oxide release in your nasal passages, which dilates blood vessels and helps reduce peripheral resistance, which means your struggling heart doesn't have to push as hard. Step 5. Position your hands. If you're sitting against a wall, place one hand flat on your sternum, the breastbone, and the other on your upper belly, just below the rib cage. This does something subtle but powerful. It gives your nervous system a physical anchor, which helps counteract the dissociation and derealization that often accompany a cardiac event. It keeps you present. It keeps you focused on the technique instead of spiraling into panic. Tongue pressed to palate, nasal breathing, one hand on chest, one on belly. Cough every 5 seconds. This is the full sequence. And now, here's what I told you I'd save for the end, because this is the piece that determines whether the whole method actually works. Most people, when they practice any kind of emergency technique, think about the physical steps. They memorize the sequence. They feel confident. And then they're lying on the kitchen floor terrified, and they forget every single step. Because panic doesn't just make you scared. Panic chemically degrades your access to procedural memory. When cortisol and adrenaline spike past a certain threshold, your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain that remembers step-by-step instructions, essentially goes offline. You revert to instinct. And instinct, as I mentioned, makes everything worse. So the real secret of the tongue tap method isn't the tongue, it's not the breathing, it's not the cough. The secret is something called an anchor phrase. An anchor phrase is a single sentence, short enough to say in one breath, that your brain associates deeply with the full protocol. When you're in crisis and your memory fails, the phrase bypasses the shutdown and pulls the whole procedure back up. Here's the phrase I want you to memorize. Say it with me.
Press, breathe, stay. Press, tongue to palate. Breathe, slow nasal breath. Stay, hands on chest, stay still, stay present. 3 words, total protocol. Your panicking brain can hold 3 words even when it can't hold 5 steps. The trick is to practice saying this phrase before you ever need it. Say it every morning for 2 weeks. Say it when you're calm. Say it before bed. Pair it every single time with actually pressing your tongue to your palate and taking one slow nasal breath. What you're doing is building a conditioned reflex. You're wiring press, breathe, stay directly to the physical action, so that in a moment of crisis, the words automatically trigger the behavior without requiring conscious recall. This is the same principle used in military stress inoculation training, the same principle used in elite athlete performance conditioning. And it's the piece that 99% of first aid guides skip entirely because they assume people can think clearly under pressure. They can't. But your anchor phrase can think for you. Everything I've described works for anyone, but it matters most for people over 60. And here's why. As we age, the autonomic nervous system becomes less flexible. The swing between fight or flight and rest and repair becomes slower and less responsive. This means older adults take longer to recover from stress spikes, and a cardiac event combined with panic can push the system into a dangerous loop that younger hearts can escape more easily. The tongue tap method is specifically effective for older adults because it directly targets vagal tone, the strength and responsiveness of the vagus nerve, which naturally declines with age but can be improved with regular practice. There's another factor. Seniors are more likely to be alone when a cardiac event happens. Adult children are at work, partners may have passed, and the distance between a crisis moment and another human being can feel impossibly wide. This method is something you own, something no one can take away. It doesn't require equipment, a prescription, or another person. It requires only that you remember 3 words and practice them for 30 seconds a day. Press, breathe, stay. Here's where we are. You now know that panic makes a cardiac event worse, and you know exactly why. You know that your body has reflex systems that can be activated to buy time, reduce cardiac demand, and maintain rhythm during a crisis. You know the 5-step tongue tap sequence, and you know the one piece that makes it actually work under pressure. Your anchor phrase. You're stopping helpless panic. You're starting a real protocol. And you are absolutely burning those 3 words into your brain before anything ever happens. Press, breathe, stay. Share this with the people you love. Not because it replaces emergency care. Always call 911 first, but because in the minutes before help arrives, having a real technique is the difference between using that time well or wasting it. Your heart has spent decades working for you. Give it something to work with.